we're going to do something a little different. We're going to flip the story in the main topic. I normally tell a story at the start of these podcasts in order to kind of warm us up and frame the main topic. But this time, I think the most value in this episode comes from the story. So we're going to go through a quick version of the main topic and then dive into the story. The main topic is going to cover the analysis that I did myself when I was trying to get the most bang for my buck for a new smartphone purchase. And the story is going to cover my experience buying not only my phone, but my wife's phone that we're currently using through Amazon Renewed. You're not going to want to miss the story. The analysis that I use to try to get the most bang for my buck with the smartphone, or any purchase for that matter, is grounded in what I consider the fundamental virtue of personal finance, and that's HopeFilled frugality. I define that, if you're new to the podcast, as the intentional practice of prudent economy, i.e., this frugal virtue, this hope-filled frugality, is about intentionality, putting our intentionality into actual practice, and then balancing out prudence and economy. And prudence is more than just being wise with your decision-making. It's making a wise decision that is informed in a manner that reduces your exposure to undue risk. In the example of purchasing a smartphone, undue risk would be purchasing something that's sketchy and might be trying to steal your identity because of where you got the phone on some sort of weird used market, or buying a phone that's been used to the point that it isn't going to be reliable and may fail on you very quickly, leaving you needing to find yet another smartphone. And when it comes to economy, we're simply talking about maximizing your happiness or utility per dollar spent, saved, or given. We're talking about maximizing your efficiency, i.e. getting the most bang for your buck. So a frugal purchase of a smartphone is going to be one that we reflect on intentionally. We're not just buying a phone spontaneously. We're actually going to buy the phone, and we're going to be balancing out the purchase and trying to optimize our utility per dollar spent here with a prudent decision, something that's going to be wise and not exposing us to undue risk. Let's assume for now that you're not going to purchase something that's sketchy. So a good, hope-filled, frugal purchase of a smartphone is going to simply be getting what you need the smartphone to have on it and a lot of your wants for the efficiency, and then getting it as cheaply as possible. When it comes to maximizing utility on the smartphone purchase, I like to break things down in cost per year. Instead of a full lifetime analysis for the cost of a phone, I want to know how much every year is it costing me to have this smartphone device in my pocket. For an example, let's assume that you're in the Apple ecosystem and you're looking to upgrade your iPhone. Let's start with some assumptions. You need a baseline phone. You don't need the Pros or the Maxes or something that's really dialed up. You're looking for a baseline iPhone. You need it to have over 250 gigs, so a quarter terabyte of storage on board. And you're really tempted by, at the time of recording, the newest smartphone. The newest iPhone is the iPhone 16. And given current trends, let's assume that Apple isn't going to cripple you with planned obsolescence until 8 years from purchasing a brand new smartphone. I went to Apple's website and I spec'd out an iPhone 16 with 256 gigabytes of storage. I put the Apple Care on it, and that total was $1,160. And with our assumption that this phone is going to last us 8 years, that's going to be about $145 per year that you are spending in order to have this smartphone. For comparison, let's say that you don't need all the flashiest, newest features. I mean, some of the older generations are going to be on the latest OS, and the biggest allure that the iPhone 16 has right now is Apple Intelligence, which at the time of this recording still isn't even active on the iPhone 16s that are out there. So let's assume you go a couple generations older, 2 years older, an iPhone 14. You're willing to reduce how many years you have this phone by an equal amount, 2 years. So we assume the 14 will last you 6 years. You're still buying it new off of Apple's website, but because it's a couple generations older, you're spending less, you drop the Apple Care. For that iPhone 14 with the same amount of storage, that's only going to cost you $785 now. But we divide that number by 6 instead of 8 because we don't keep this phone around as long. That gets us down to $130 per year. It's really close to how much the iPhone 16 costs you, relatively speaking. But we at least now have a difference per year that helps us measure the opportunity costs and the differences between these phones with a dollar sign attached to it. Now let's say if we're already willing to go a couple generations older, we don't need this thing to be exactly brand new. We still want to buy it directly from Apple because we trust Apple in this instance. In this example, we're going to go to their certified refurbished store. This is what I did when I replaced my laptop. We've covered that in a couple episodes, I believe from last year at this time. I digress. It's a little hard to find an iPhone 14 on the Apple refurb store right now. The supply comes and goes depending on what they actually have that's been refurbished, but I had enough information to make a good estimate of what an iPhone 14 would cost you there. It's about 15% less than what it would be brand new. We're talking $665, and now we've gotten our cost per year down to about $110. Now we're cooking with something that has a difference that might make it worth it instead of buying the iPhone 16 brand new. This is what I was considering when I wanted to replace my iPhone 7 Plus that I'd used previously to record the B-roll on the podcast. In the past, when it comes to replacing laptops, I've only ever directly purchased them brand new or off of the certified refurbished store. I haven't ever trusted a third-party retailer to sell me a refurbished laptop. The iPhone, though, I don't put as much value on the utility it provides me, and I'm willing to take on a little bit more risk with that purchase. So I opened up my options a little bit and went to check out Amazon Renewed. Let's assume this in our hypothetical and go as extreme as we can in trying to cut cost. Let's say we back it up one more generation. We're 3 generations old now. We go with an iPhone 13 from Amazon Renewed. And let's say we're willing to work with this phone 1 year past it not getting the latest operating system. It's still getting security updates for that year, but we're going to assume we run that iPhone 13 for 6 years, just like we would the 14, in order to really work our cost per year down. At the time of recording, I was able to find an iPhone 13 on Amazon Renewed for $402. And that's a refurbished phone in good condition. We'll jump more into that in the story. That phone, per year, costs $67. Now we're looking at something that is less than half of buying the iPhone 16 new when it comes to cost per year. And you might say, Jay, well, you added an extra year to this. Let's say I didn't want to spend a year without the latest operating system. It's still $80 per year if you only run it for 5 years. That is the best deal per year that we have so far. Now, this reduction in cost comes with a huge trade-off. When you buy an iPhone refurbished from Apple directly, they're willing to give you Apple Care on it. They have run that phone through their production line and their quality control all over again. In fact, you're more likely to get a phone that is defect-free off the refurb store at Apple than you are getting a brand new iPhone that's defect-free because it's gone through the process twice. I've had people at the Apple stores tell me this directly. It costs less and the odds of problems are lower. But I don't know what the risks are practically buying a phone off of Amazon Renewed. I haven't done it before. I don't know what kind of quality controls in place. I don't know how many sellers are involved. And when it comes to those sellers, how reliable are they? It's a real shot in the dark. So I'm really now trying to figure out, is it prudent or not to risk it buying from Amazon Renewed? I eventually settled on trying it because they have a pretty generous return program. And I thought by exploring what purchasing from Amazon was like here could be really interesting and informative for you. If the quality is comparable for what you can get directly from Apple, I don't see any problem going in this direction. So we're going to cover my experience now in today's main story.